My name is Brian. I'm 63 years old, and 2 days before my daughter-in-law's birthday, I froze every account with my name on it. My son didn't know. He kept sending me photos of the Mercedes. Different angles, different lighting. The interior, the trunk, the way the morning sun hit the hood. 12 photos in one day. 12. I replied to each one with the same word. Nice. He never noticed I'd stopped using punctuation. The Mercedes wasn't the problem. It was never about the car. It was about something I overheard 6 weeks earlier. Something my son didn't know I heard. Let me back up a little. I live in a small house on a street where everybody knows everybody. My husband passed 8 years ago. Heart attack in the garage on a Tuesday. I found him still holding the garden hose. Some things you don't forget. The way water keeps running even when the person holding it is gone. After that, I learned to be alone, not lone. There's a difference. My son Derek is 38. He's been married to Paige for 11 years. She's one of those women who smiles like she's calculating something. You know the type. Her eyes move when she talks to you, but not to look at you. To look past you, at what you own. At what you might leave behind someday. I never said that out loud. Mothers aren't supposed to think things like that about their son's wife. But I thought it. 6 weeks before the birthday, I stopped by their house to drop off a pie. Apple, Derek's favorite since he was 7. I let myself in through the back door like I'd done 1,000 times. They were in the living room. They didn't hear me. I stopped in the hallway when I heard my name. She's 63, Paige was saying, not loud, just matter of fact. Like she was talking about the weather. My grandmother lived to 92. That's 30 more years of her sitting in that house, letting it fall apart around her. 30 years of us waiting. Derek said something I couldn't catch. Then we need to move faster, Paige said. The Mercedes is step 1. She'll feel guilty if she doesn't help. Guilty people write checks. I stood there in that hallway holding the pie. The apples were still warm. I'd spent 3 hours on it. 3 hours. And my son was in the next room letting his wife plan how to make me feel guilty enough to pay for her birthday present. I walked back out the way I came. Took the pie home. Ate a slice that night at midnight, standing in the dark kitchen, looking at the garden hose coiled by the garage where my husband used to keep it. I didn't cry. The next week, Derek called, Mom, Paige's birthday is coming up. Big one. 40. I remember. I want to do something special, something she'll never forget. I waited. There's this Mercedes, CPO certified pre-owned, still feels new. Leather seats, heated, the whole thing. I can get it for 43. I still waited. 1,000, he said. I stirred my tea. The spoon made that clicking sound against the ceramic. I've got about 8 saved, he said. But I was thinking maybe you could help with the rest. Not a gift. A loan, you know I'm good for it. $35,000. Look, it's an investment in our marriage. Happy wife, happy life. I've heard that phrase 100 times. It always sounds like something people say right before they ask for money. I'll think about it, I said. Great, no pressure. Just let me know. He hung up. I set the phone down and watched my tea go cold. Here's the thing about being a mother. You spend 38 years convincing yourself your son is basically good. That the selfish moments are just phases. That the distance is him growing up. That the woman he married, the one who never asks how you're feeling, who moves your photos when you visit, who talks about your house like it's already hers, that woman is just adjusting to family life. You tell yourself these things because the alternative is admitting you raised someone who sees you as a wallet with a pulse. I wasn't ready to admit that yet, but I was ready to listen. 2 weeks before the birthday, I drove to their house unannounced. Derek wasn't home. Paige answered in workout clothes that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. Brian. Did we have plans? Just dropping something off. I held up a bag with a sweater I'd knitted for their daughter. For Lily. Oh, cute. She took the bag, set it on the hall table without looking inside. She's at a friend's. Wait, Paige hesitated. Then she stepped back. Sure. Come in. I sat on their couch. The one I'd helped them buy 3 years ago when they were short on the down payment. $5,000. They'd paid back too. Paige made tea. We talked about nothing. She glanced at it, smiled, typed something, set it down. 5 minutes later, it buzzed again. Same smile. Derek, I asked. Work stuff. I nodded. Then I said, he told me about the Mercedes. Her face didn't change, but something behind her eyes shifted. Oh, 35,000. That's what he asked for? He shouldn't have bothered you with that. We're handling it. Handling it how? She waved a hand. Savings. Some investments. It's under control. I drank my tea. The mug had a chip on the rim. I wondered if she'd noticed. Later, driving home, I replayed that conversation. The way her eyes moved when she said, investments. The quick glance at her phone. The smile that wasn't for me. Something didn't add up. I started paying attention after that. Little things. Derek called more often. Not to talk, to mention the car, the financing options. The warranty, the color Paige wanted. Graphite gray with beige interior. She saw one at the grocery store and hasn't stopped talking about it. I made agreeing sounds. Then one night, Derek came over alone. Sat at my kitchen table. Ate the cookies I put in front of him. Looked at me with those eyes that used to beg me to read one more story when he was little. Paige doesn't know I'm here, he said. I waited. I need to tell you something. About the car. I folded my hands on the table. Old people do that. It steadies us. We don't have 8,000 saved. We have about 2. And some credit card debt. More than I've told you. Okay. But Paige, she's got her heart set on this. She's been through a lot. Her job is stressful. She deserves something nice. How much debt? He wouldn't look at me. About 40. Total. $40,000 in debt. Between cards, the car she's leasing, some other things. It adds up. I thought about the 5,000 they'd never repaid. The 2,000 before that. The loans that were really just me funding their life, because saying no felt like failing as a parent. You want me to cover the Mercedes? I want you to help us get ahead. One good thing. Then we'll figure out the rest. One good thing. Like a Mercedes was a life raft. Like a car would fix $40,000 of bad decisions. Derek. He looked up. I need you to hear what I'm about to say. Okay. I love you. You're my son. I would have died for you when you were small, and part of me still would. He nodded. But I'm not buying this car. The silence stretched. Mom. I'm not buying this car. And I'm not loaning you money for it. And I'm not co-signing anything. The answer is no. His face did something I'd never seen. Not anger, not sadness. Something else. Something that looked like a door closing behind his eyes. Okay, he said. Okay. He stood up. Left the cookies half eaten. Walked out without saying goodbye. I sat at that table for a long time. The house made its usual sounds. Refrigerator humming. A car passing outside. Somewhere a dog barking. I thought about my husband. About the garden hose. About all the things we'd planned to do after he retired. The trips we'd talked about. The quiet years we'd imagined. He never got those years. But I did. I was sitting in them. And I realized something for the first time. Those years were mine. Not Derek's. Not Paige's. Not owed to anyone just because I was still breathing. I got up, washed the cookie plate, and went to bed. The next morning, I drove to the bank. 2 days before Paige's birthday, I sat in the branch manager's office. Margaret. We'd known each other for 15 years. Brian, she said, I need to freeze my accounts. All of them. All of them. She processed the paperwork. I signed. The pen scratched against the paper. When I walked out, the sun was too bright. The next day, we stood at the dealership in front of the grey Mercedes. Paige smiling. Derek hopeful. I handed him the envelope. Mom froze the accounts, he said. Paige blinked. What? The accounts are frozen. There's no money. It's not a joke, I said. She looked at me like I'd broken something sacred. You knew we were counting on this? I told Derek no. She turned on him. You said she agreed. He had no answer. I heard you, I said quietly. 6 weeks ago, in your living room, planning how to make me feel guilty enough to pay. Paige went pale. You heard that. I hear a lot of things. I just stopped pretending I didn't. I looked at my son. I love you. But I am not your safety net. I am not your savings account. And I am not a problem to be solved when I die. No one spoke. I picked up my purse. The house is in a trust. The will is updated. This isn't revenge. It's boundaries. And I walked out. That was 6 months ago. Derek calls sometimes now, just to talk. We're learning how to do that again. Paige and I don't speak. The Mercedes is in their driveway. They leased it eventually. I still live in my house. Still drink tea from the same chip mug. Still pass the garage and sometimes pause at the garden hose. But I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not waiting to be useful enough to earn my place. I'm not waiting for someone to decide I matter. I'm just here, in my own life, finally, and that's enough. If you've ever felt like you're disappearing into someone else's expectations, I see you. If you've ever written a check you couldn't afford because saying no felt like failing, I understand. It's okay to take up space. It's okay to say no. It's okay to choose yourself. The garden hose still hangs in my garage, and every day I choose to keep living, not for anyone else, just for me. That's the gift I finally gave myself.